Historians have pieced together a compelling narrative of Leif Erikson's early 11th century voyage to North America, blending Norse sagas, archaeological discoveries, and scientific analysis. The primary sources detailing Leif Erikson's journey are two Icelandic sagas, the Saga of the Greenlanders and the Saga of Erik the Red. These texts, penned in the 13th and 14th centuries, recount Leif's voyage around the year 1000 AD to a land he named Vinland. According to the sagas, Leif established a settlement called Leifsbúðir, Leifsbúðs, and explored regions he termed Helluland, land of flat stones, and Markland, land of forests, believed to correspond to parts of modern-day Baffin Island and Labrador, respectively. The sagas also describe interactions with indigenous peoples, referred to as Skrælings, which range from trade to conflict. These encounters, along with challenges such as isolation and limited resources, likely contributed to the settlement's eventual abandonment. Archaeological evidence. Lance o Meadows. In 1960, Norwegian explorer Helge Ingstad and archaeologist Anne Steen Ingstad discovered the remains of a Norse settlement at Lance o Meadows on Newfoundland's northern tip. Excavations revealed 8 turf-walled buildings, iron-working evidence, and artifacts consistent with Norse material culture. Radiocarbon dating places the site's occupation around 1000 AD, aligning with the saga's timeline. Further precision came in 2021 when scientists analyzed tree rings from wood at the site, identifying a solar storm event in 993 AD. This allowed them to date the felling of trees to exactly 1021 AD, providing a definitive timestamp for Norse activity in North America. While Lance o Meadows is widely accepted as evidence of Norse presence, its identification as Leif's Leifsbúðir is debated. Some scholars, like Dr. Stuart C. Brown, argue against this identification. Additionally, other proposed Norse sites, such as those in Baffin Island and Point Rosé, remain subjects of ongoing research and debate. In the 19th century, figures like Eben Norton Horsford claimed Norse settlements existed in New England, linking them to structures like the Newport Tower. However, these claims lack archaeological support and are often viewed as part of a broader cultural movement to establish a non-Catholic European origin for America. Leif Erikson's voyages were largely forgotten in Europe until the 19th century, when interest in Norse exploration resurged. In 1925, U.S. President Calvin Coolidge recognized Leif as the discoverer of America, and in 1964, Congress established October 9th as Leif Erikson Day. This date commemorates the arrival of the Norwegian ship Restoration in New York in 1825, marking the beginning of organized Norwegian immigration to the U.S. today. Leif Erikson's legacy endures through various monuments, cultural references, and continued scholarly interest in Viking exploration. The Norse sagas, particularly the Saga of the Greenlanders and the Saga of Erik the Red, provide accounts of Viking encounters with indigenous peoples in North America around the year 1000 AD. These narratives, though written centuries after the events they describe, offer insights into early interactions between Norse explorers and Native American groups, whom they referred to as Skrælings. According to the sagas, the first meetings between the Norse and the Skrælings were marked by mutual curiosity and trade. The indigenous peoples arrived in hide-covered canoes, and both groups were astonished by each other's appearance and behavior. Trade ensued, with the Norse offering items like red cloth and milk in exchange for animal pelts. These exchanges were conducted without a shared language, relying on gestures and demonstrations to communicate intentions. Despite initial peaceful interactions, tensions eventually escalated. In one account, a Norse bull frightened the Skrælings, leading them to flee. They later returned in greater numbers, launching an attack on the Norse settlement. The Norse, unprepared for such aggression, suffered casualties and ultimately decided to abandon their attempts at establishing a permanent settlement in Vinland. The sagas also recount instances where the Norse captured indigenous individuals. In one episode, two indigenous boys were taken by the Norse and brought back to Greenland. They were baptized and taught the Norse language, suggesting an interest in cultural assimilation or intelligence gathering. These actions reflect a complex dynamic of both conflict and cultural exchange between the groups. Modern interpretations of these sagas must consider their composition centuries after the events they describe, likely blending historical facts with literary embellishments. While archaeological evidence, such as the Norse settlement at Lonso Meadows, corroborates Norse presence in North America, the details of their interactions with indigenous peoples are unclear.